Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't.
Night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
11 and 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Rory Matthews, it's going to be remembered. It will be a lasting image from the 2024 United States Open, just like Bryson DeChambeau's 55-yard bunker shot.
We love big-time winners. Like, you win a championship, we want to hear from you. You get the stage. Sometimes it's emotional. It's a great watch. You know we also love? The losers who said, you know what, I just can't believe I folded down the stretch. Let me face the music here. You sort of get a new light there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome in. We're live right here on SportsGrid. I'm Kevin Walsh. That is Coach James Young. And our coverage for the NBA draft continues right here on SportsGrid. And we are, since we're in the 50s, Coach, immediately on Bronny Watch. It is what everybody is waiting to see play out, specifically the better is waiting to watch play out, Coach. Nobody that's going to get drafted really today will be deciding wagers, but certainly at this point in this draft, will this be an over-under for 54.5, which is that Bronny price? And, of course, will he go chalk, and will he go to the Los Angeles Lakers?
Well, shout out to the biggest gangsters in the world, the Clutch Sports, Rich Paul, LeBron James. Hey, listen. If you draft Bronny, he's going to Australia to play. So shut up. But it's cinema. It's cinema. As soon as we come on the air, he's about to get picked. But who's on the clock right now? Boston. Does Boston do it? Does Boston do it? It would be the ultimate like Hulk Hogan turning heel, Hollywood Hogan move if the Celtics did it. They're obviously not.
Well, I wouldn't say that. If only because I think there are a few teams, JY, that could be on the board here at 54, where I go, come on, they're not even going to bother. I don't think Boston's one of them. Mm-hmm. I think that it somewhat fits their organization. And again, knowing what's about to happen if you do pass on this kid, there's got to be at least a conversation in the room. I don't want to rush anything. The picks have slowed down a little bit. Shams Charania's account was locked. He tweeted out.
Struggle.
Which I think slowed some things down. The 53rd pick for Memphis, the Grizzlies. This team didn't get a chance at Donovan Clingan, so they settled for Cam Spencer here from the national championship team. Tristan Newton was also drafted a little bit earlier on at pick 49. That by the Indiana Pacers. We will recap some of the biggest names. I think we did have some potential legitimate contributors off the board today. There was plenty of nothing. Mm-hmm. Make no bones about it. Plenty of nothing that also went off the board. But again, we are in full-on Bronny watch because the final number, JY, a number that moved, and look, hand up, a number I missed on, bet it a while back, the 39.5.
Me too.
No, I didn't reinvest because I saw how things were shifting, right? Took a gamble way out. didn't pay off, but the final number here was 54.5 for a lot of people. And some said, come on, someone's going to somewhere give it a chance. Maybe the Lakers will even trade up. That's not happened. Either he goes here at 54 to Boston, maybe the Lakers trade up to 54, or the Lakers will be on the clock at 55 with LeBron's son available.
Plays out exactly the way the Lakers wanted. I mean, they're going to get him the 55th pick. They didn't have to move at all. And then obviously you look at the fact of what they did yesterday, getting Dalton Connect, who K-Dub and I absolutely love. I thought it was one of the best picks in the draft, in my opinion, in regards to need. So it lines itself up for a Lakers team. LeBron gets his wish. He gets his coach. He gets his son. He gets a shooter. All is well in La La Land with the Lakers, unless Boston does something crazy, which I don't think they're going to do. So we are officially on Bronny time.
Pick 54 is in. The Boston Celtics make the decision to draft. The Boston Celtics make the decision to draft Anton Watson out of Gonzaga. And let me tell you how locked in this was. Bronny James has been selected. Not Shams Charania, not Adrian Wojnarowski. Chris Haynes comes over the top. Hasn't given out a pick at any point in this process, but confirms to the people that it will be at pick 55, LeBron James's son, Bronny James, one-and-done freshman out of USC, off the board at 55 overall. Coach, there are so many angles we need to get into here, but I want to go to you on this first one. The player, the talent, the ability, and what you make of the prospect that is Bronny.
Listen, he could defend at an NBA level. There's no questions about it. I think he is a secretly good playmaker. Simply put, Bronny's got to fix the jump shot. If he can fix the jump shot, he's going to be a good pro. I mean, listen, there's guys in his league that are way worse than Bronny playing. So to me, I think the pressure's going to be off of him in a sense. But to me, if you look at the Lakers, when you go second round, Kevin, you're going to take swings. Mm-hmm. Take swings. Sometimes you swing and you miss. Sometimes you swing and you hit. But you look at the pedigree. You know the kid's going to work his you-know-what off. Mm-hmm. You know he's going to try and do whatever he can to contribute because of the fact of who his father is. So you got that working with you. Simply put, if he can fix the jumper, then he's fine. If not, still could be a guy that could play a little bit, be a defensive specialist. Hey, go and guard that guy.
Here's the fascinating bit of it all. If you look at some of the names that have come off of the board within the last 15 picks, how many guys are we putting legitimate expectations on? Almost none of them, Coach. I think some of the initial backlash on the idea of Bronny being drafted is we thought he may go round one. That never happened. Bronny being selected at 55 completely eliminates this idea that he has to be great to some degree, that he even has to be good. The Lakers at 55 took an upside swing on a McDonald's All-American, one-and-done prospect who leaves a situation in USC that was disastrous. It tanked Isaiah Collier's status. I mean, Lord knows what happened to Boogie Ellis. Can't find it with a search party. Andy Enfield left that program, went over to SMU. So the Lakers take an upside swing on a 6'3 guard. Great athleticism, comes from the best pipeline that you can come from, which is your father playing in the league. There are legitimate research studies out there about how often that has been a fruitful process. So for the Lakers, at 55, there is nothing to say negative about before you consider that they just guaranteed. It's not been reported. I don't care. We don't need to wait for it. LeBron will be back with the purple and gold next year. He'll opt out. That's fine. That's the process. The money will be figured out. He will get a new deal, potentially a 3-year max contract, because he is still somehow one of the 10 best players in the league. And the Lakers will now be looking to contend for a title next year with LeBron on their roster. And that's the main thing that just happened, Coach.
Did you wear purple on purpose?
Honestly, no. I'm not even going to lie to you. I wish I could have told you yes. No.
Okay, it would have been dynamite if that's what you did. I'm like, my man's in purple today. But listen, at the end of the day, Kevin, here's the biggest thing. They got Bronny.
Yep.
Right? And he didn't have to trade. Didn't have to move. Didn't have to give up. Kevin, didn't have to give up any assets. Mm-hmm. No picks. No players. They got him right where he wanted, and they got Dalton Connect. It's like it's a win-win-win.
Yep.
Win.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You get Bronny, you get LeBron, you get the shooter, you get Redick, you go to work.
Right.
So it for the Lakers, this is as great as an offseason can be so far. Now you got to talk to, D'Angelo Russell. How you doing? See you later. And see what you can get for him. But to me, the Lakers are in a good spot. Now, can they make that jump and become a top 4 team in the West? Listen, if LeBron and AD stay healthy, no offense to Darvin Ham, J.J. Redick can't be worse than Darvin Ham.
Certainly not.
I mean, there's got to be an upgrade because I think at least the Lakers will do is they'll surround J.J. Redick with top-flight assistant coaches, maybe Scotty Brooks, someone that has NBA head coaching experience to be a head coach on the staff with them. But to me, the Lakers, this is your chance. Here we go. This is your chance. Let's go make a move.
I know we're going to be coming up against a break very shortly here on SportsGrid's draft coverage. Day number 2, the first time we've had that within the NBA draft. And we are going to continue to talk about the betting fallout from this, the betting future of this, and how the Lakers were able to make this happen. A lot more to unpack. We'll be right back.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Back with you right here on SportsGrid, where for the first time in the history of the NBA, a father-son duo will play in the league at the same time.
Like the Griffies.
And it just so happens that they're going to play on the same team with LeBron James and Bronny. And again, I know some might say, ooh, hey, cart, horse. We don't know if Bronny will be back. Yes, we do. This does not all play out, and then LeBron leaves. LeBron will get any amount of money, will get the most amount of money he could possibly want from the Lakers, and he will be back. I think, Coach, it is probably important to talk about how the Lakers / Bronny / Clutch were able to make this happen. And I think what we saw throughout the day was reporting around the uncertainty of the day 2 player. Some draft and stash, two-way guys, potential, G leaguers, right? Not a lot of guaranteed money. And I was kind of struggling with this fact that Bronny, who just wanted to be a pro, was willing to have his camp force him to the Lakers. Because that's what happened. They forced him to the Lakers. But Bronny likely accepted that because the Lakers are the team who promised, we'll put you on an NBA roster immediately, which nobody else was going to be willing to do. Even any team, I think, Coach, that got Bronny in their building for a workout, I don't know how many would be willing to guarantee him a roster spot day 1. That's how you get buy-in from the player. We know this is what LeBron wanted, and we know this organization wants LeBron back, and therefore the favored outcome from a year ago has come true, and Bronny is a Los Angeles Laker.
Honestly, you got to give the guys at Clutch Sports and Rich Paul credit. I mean, they basically threatened Australia. They basically told teams, you're wasting a pick if you keep him here. So to me, it was such a smart play by LeBron's camp. And listen, at the end of the day, tampering, not tampering, legal, not illegal, at the end of the day, this is what LeBron wanted, this is what LeBron got. And I think I want people to understand something here. Kevin, this is deeper than just Bronny LeBron. You don't want to piss off Clutch Sports, period.
Sure.
Because you talked about the fact of the beef that Leon Rose and Worldwide West had LeBron. They had to have a sit-down, I think, the last time the Lakers were in New York, just to squash the beef because there wasn't anybody. There was a part, remember, when Zach LaVine, I don't want to go to the Knicks. Well, that's because Sports was like, we're not going to let you go there. Mm-hmm. So to me, at the end of the day, like LeBron and Rich Paul, they're the godfathers of the NBA. Like the consiglieres. Like everything's got to go through them. You got to get approval from them. You have to get permission from them. Is it right? Is it wrong? Doesn't matter. They're doing it. Deal with it. You know why? Because if any other team wanted to mess with the Lakers, they would have went and just took a flyer on Bronny and held his draft rights. And what you would have done, you've never got a Clutch Sports guy again. So at the end of the day, it was a smart move by the Lakers. I mean, a smart move by the James family. They've got what they wanted, and you're right. Most other teams were going to stash this guy, and I'll be honest with you, most teams would have sent him to the G League. Ready, Kev? Just to sell tickets. Just to say, Bronny's G League. Hey, all of a sudden, 500 people. How you doing? 5,000. Very simple. Line around the block. Right. Bronny James is playing tonight. Everyone wants to show up and show out. So to me, he goes to the NBA roster because he needs to be around the NBA guys. He's got to be where he's got to earn his stripes. He's got to get better. He's got to be around the medical, the training staff, the assistant coaches. It makes sense for all fronts. It just so happens the way they played it out, some people may not like. Kevin, I honestly don't care.
But it's also one of those things, JY, to be honest with you, because you're right, people don't like it. But there are a lot of people who would talk about this situation who have no idea what they're talking about, and there's a lot of people who would talk about this situation angry because they dislike LeBron. Oh, my God, I can't believe they forced this. Alex Sarr wouldn't show up to the Hawks building who had the first pick. You don't know what you're talking about. Guys force themselves into certain situations all the time. If I'm not mistaken, I think Austin Reeves could have been drafted, but knew the Lakers were going to give him an undrafted, we're going to sign him as an undrafted player. There are guys right now, Justin Edwards potentially out of Kentucky, who has been getting phone calls. I'm like, no, we're good.
It happens all the time, Kevin.
All the time.
Scott Boras does it in baseball all the time where certain boards. Folks, I just, it happens. It happens. It's just the fact of the matter is that people just don't like LeBron. So they're going to try and blame him or his camp for everything. Yeah, is it a little bit more public how it went out?
It's
Maybe.
more attention.
Right.
But let me say this, JY, right? Because we're now discussing something with Bronny ending up on the Lakers of like, well, come on, what else did we think was going to happen? But you nor I are sat here saying, look, Lakers, huge bets. Bronny to the Lakers. I'm sure plenty of you made those wagers. But there was an element of this that remained uncertain, which was, would LeBron join Bronny anywhere he goes? That is gone, right? Because he went to the Lakers and LeBron's just going to stay. But one of the reasons that I never placed a wager on Bronny going to L.A. is I didn't. Now, maybe the rest of the league did, or they didn't want to, as you mentioned, maybe upset Clutch. I didn't believe that LeBron would see his son get drafted elsewhere and not consider joining that basketball team. There is still a part of me that wonders, had the Knicks, had the Suns, the Mavericks, the Timberwolves, I don't care, the Sixers, drafted Bronny, does LeBron have a decision to make? Because I really do believe it's the thing he wants most. And that is why, while it was the favored option, JY, it wasn't unbettable. It wasn't the odds of Reese Shay's closing price to Atlanta of minus 2,000. Minus 145. I mean, we laid that on a baseball money line today. You got a pick? Let me know. I'm on under in the Yanks game. So this isn't one of these wagers that was one that people couldn't get a piece of. And we sit here now and we go, oh, my God, the favored team to draft Bronny for 365 days drafted him. Incredible. We'll get you more updates. We'll follow this situation next right here on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Back right here on SportsGrid. Gonna take our best chance here at updating you on what else has happened since Bronny has been selected. And admittedly, a lot of the top newsbreakers stopped providing those updates themselves. At pick 56, Kevin McCullough comes off the board. I know that for 100% certainty. Is he a Sun? Is he a Nick? The Knicks got that pick from Phoenix, but also the Knicks don't keep any pick they have. So that's kind of my hesitation, JY. And neither Woj or Shams Charania necessarily tweeted out where McCullough has landed. I'll tell you this. I like the player. I do. Really good defensive piece who had a lot more offensive repetitions on his plate while at Kansas. Can do a little bit of it all. And how good of a shooter he can turn into will probably determine how many minutes he can truly get, Coach. But I like Kevin McCullough here a lot more than some of the other guys that we've seen drafted today.
You know what? And Ian Begley, who is as piped into the Knicks as anyone, says that he has been drafted by the Knicks. So
they're actually going to keep a player they drafted.
Right. Well, unless they take their third French guy and stash him overseas anyway. But that's a story for another day. But listen, when you look at Kevin McCullough, I like the player. He's gritty. He's tough. He can do some things. He can help you on the defensive end of the floor. And honestly, if there is a team in the NBA that is taking on, either the Villanova thing, the other thing is this team, they're all Tibbs guys. Mm-hmm. These are tough-nosed, hard. They play to win. You go get him. You get Kolick, right? Experienced guys. Older guys. This is like the Josh Harts when he came out and the Jalen Brunsons and stuff like that. The Knicks are loading up on guys that fit their narrative, their culture. Will McCullough play? I don't know. But if is he the type of guy that Tibbs will love? Absolutely.
We had some international prospects selected at 57. It's Ulrich Shumshay, who comes off of the board going to Memphis. And then at pick 58, which, Coach, if I'm not mistaken, is a Knicks pick, correct?
Yes, I think it is a Knicks pick. The big out of Germany at center. You figure...
Ariel Hookporti is pick 58, another stash, which I think I will say this, there's a changing landscape in the NBA as far as first apron, second apron, but it became very clear on night one. The Knicks' main priority when drafting was this can't cost us a lot of money. So the Pacome Daddier, who they took in the first round, I think is an awful selection.
Awful.
But the Knicks, I was talking with someone the other day, who cares? It doesn't matter. He's not playing this year, so this is irrelevant, which at that point then okay, because maybe in 2 years, 3 years, that matters. The only player the Knicks have drafted, I guess now McCullough as well, or McCullough and Kolick. That's what matters. The stash is, but that's. Someone told me the other day that Pacome was like, no, I want to play in the NBA next year.
Play NBA. 2K. That's what he'd be playing.
Right.
I'm saying, over there, oui, Paris. But listen, at the end of the day, think about this, folks. The Knicks, I don't even think they're able to offer the 4 for 72 full amount because I think they were about to be hard capped. They saved about $3 million by not making the picks. I think Kolick leads to maybe Deuce getting moved because they got to shed a little bit more salary. Because I think they're trying to find a way to get all the money they can to give to Hartenstein to see if he can come back. After Nick Claxton got 4 for 100, he would have to take a sizable pay cut in order to do that. And I don't think he would do it. I'm a Knicks fan. I want Hartenstein back. But if Brother Man, or what we say, if Brightskin takes $30 million less with the New York taxes, he is absolutely crazy. Someone's going to give him at least $20 million, Kev.
Yeah, a lot of people have mentioned Oklahoma City.
Yeah, great bet.
Potentially as a team that could target Hartenstein. But the NBA draft is in the books. We're going to start this off by letting you know our favorite picks from round number 2, maybe some head scratchers as well. And then we get to pull this thing back. Who crushed this thing overall? Who needs to look for a new front office? And is there value in the Rookie of the Year market? Spoiler, yes. We'll get into it all live right here on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, back with you right here. It's our 2024 NBA Draft Special. The draft has come to a close, day one, day two. Maybe we can talk a little bit about kind of them separating it. We'll do this quick. They won't do this next year.
No.
I really think there's a chance that this was something that they decided to do because of Bronny. It doesn't even really make sense. Day two at 4 p.m. If you look too, and because it's an NBA deal, this is being broadcasted, the actual draft itself on ESPN. But if we can kind of use context clues, like Stephen A. Smith is in town to break down day two, guys. No, he's there to talk about LeBron and Bronny. So I'll give you a quick prediction. You can tell me what you think. I don't think we do a two-day draft next year for the NBA.
No, I don't think we do it either. I think they'll start a little bit early, maybe start at 7 o'clock, and just crank it out and do a shorter time frame for the second round. If you think about the first round, took about 3 hours. Round number 2 took about 2:15, 2:20. Yeah. So I just think you shrink the number of minutes in between picks in round 2. Started a little bit early, started 7 p.m. Short after 7, get it done by midnight.
Then again, as I say that, teams or organizations, if the network ends up happy with the second day and it does good numbers, it'll stick around. Speaking of day 2, JY, tell me, I'll let you start here. What was your favorite pick of round 2, picks 31 to 58?
You got to sit there and think about guys that fell out of the first round that were first round grades, at least on my draft board. So, that's talking about either Filipowski, Kolek, Murphy. To me, I like Kolek because Kolek is a guy that just to me seems like a grinder, a tough kid, a leader, a floor general, a winner, a guy that, came out of nowhere out of Georgia. I think he was a transfer when he went to Marquette. He's going to be good in that system. He kind of fits that Nick mold. I thought that was a really, really, really good pick for them. I also like Juan Nunez, the point guard out of Spain. He's kind of a slick passer, but Kolek to me, he makes sense. Like, I'm not closing my eyes and saying I'm thinking about another guy that was a lefty from the Big East that was a second-round pick named Jalen Brunson. I'm not going there. But what I'm saying is for the Knicks, potentially because of the fact they may have to move Deuce to shed salary, this is a good guy that I think in the NBA, Kevin, could be your fifth guard if he's got to be pressed into 20 minutes of the game, I don't think he's going to kill you. He needs to shoot it better, but I do think it's a decent pick for the Knicks in regards to value for a guy that I thought should have went somewhere in the 20s.
So I'm going to cheat a little bit with – actually, let me talk a little bit about Kolek here. I think what makes me like the Kolek pick is if this whole thing within New York now is we have to save money, and that means Deuce McBride has to go. Being able to say, you know what, Kolek's going to be a guy that we want to slot right in. Having a plan for that is really nice. And I also think, Coach, there was a chance they would, or not even, I think they would have taken him at 24 or 25 if they stayed. So the fact that they were able to get him at 34,
cheaper,
it makes it makes that better. Ultimately, I'll say that. What will bother me, and I don't want this to cloud all of my draft grades, if you will. I still would have rather them just drafted Isaiah Collier if you want a backup point guard and give yourself a chance at hitting a home run. But they probably want a ready now guy. I just think. I think
honestly, Kevin.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. If Collier was in the second round, I think they already took him. I think there's something with them shaving money and saving money. I could see that.
Okay.
I could see that. Really quick, another guy I like is Adam Bona going to Philadelphia. Because you know why? Paul Reed sucks.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Whoa.
He was talking trash. Paul, my bad.
Whoa.
You were talking trash about the Knicks beforehand, so you want him in the series.
Paul.
Big boy Paul, but big foul Paul as well. But I do like the fact that I thought that Philadelphia needed to get a backup big. I thought that works out for him. I think Paul, it's a cheaper option. I think he goes there and he does well. And Pell Larson, simply put, he's going to Miami. And everything Miami does, it just makes sense. And here's a guy that's older, that's got experience, he's got a good frame. He doesn't do a ton of things great. He's fundamentally sound, and he just fits Miami.
So I think Pelle Larson could certainly be a solid selection. For me, I kind of want to cheat a little bit, though, by pairing two teams or a team's two selections on day two together. I love what the Indiana Pacers did. Johnny Furphy was one of the main fallers out of round number one. Furphy, the projection actually through the odds was him being a top 20 pick. That ultimately did not happen. Then they come out here and they take Tristan Newton as well. And I think you got an upside swinging Furphy, right? With his length, he can rebound the ball. There's hopes that he can develop into a shooter. And you also get someone in Tristan Newton who could easily be what we talk about, one of those day one contributors. And Newton may do nothing at an unbelievable level in the NBA, but he can navigate the pick and roll. He has size to finish at the basket. And we know he can get hot and hit threes. What's interesting is those decisions are offensive ones. And, if anybody, our smart money team needs for the Indiana Pacers were defense, and defense, and that is not what they did here in round number two. So for the Pacers, it's kind of a double down on what they have now, which I don't know if I can necessarily get mad at. I think you'd love to find guys that can do both, but their offense-first system, Coach, got that team to an Eastern Conference Finals.
Yes, but I do think Newton is a willing defender. Because if you simply put, you play for her. If you play for Hurley, you better play defense. So I think that is the interesting thing there. And I think, listen, at the end of the day, you just kind of go and when you have the young core of Indiana, right? Think about it. All these guys are going to come back. You try and just you swing. You take a swing for a guy and think, okay, Newton, he's showing an ability to score. He's a point guard. You know what? Can you play him as along with McConnell in that second group? But you got to realize that Benedict Mathurin still comes back. He missed the end of the year. So these are developmental guys, right? These are guys that you may put them on two ways, send them to the G League, see if they improve, and then it allows you to say, now we have extra players that we may be able to move as these guys get better.
What I would say so I think Furphy is just kind of like an obvious fit. This is not a team that's loaded with forwards, right? What I would say, Coach, is I know everyone really likes Benedict Mathurin. Andrew Nemhard ended up having himself a great postseason run by the end of it there. You're now playing Tyrese Halliburton, right, in this up and down, offense. What's the best kind of backcourt partner for him? Is it offense first Nemhard? Is it offense first Benedict Mathurin? I'm not sure that's the answer. But you don't want to lose guard depth. I'm just wondering if the Pacers are on the phones this offseason.
I'm sure.
And we're going to talk some offseason, here on our show as well, get everybody set for what should be a really, really exciting next few weeks of NBA moves. Could Benedict Mathurin be on the block? Could they be hesitant on maybe paying some of the money that a lot of people feel Andrew Nemhard earned himself throughout this postseason and think to themselves, you know what, Tristan Newton can keep our guard depth still overall. I think something like that is possible here. We're running up against the break. I want to see if there's anything else from round two that deserves mention. I'll tell people this. We mentioned our smart money team needs. Milwaukee couldn't disagree more. And I like the player they drafted in Tyler Smith out of the G League Ignite. But the timeline Milwaukee is operating on doesn't really line up with what you would anticipate here. We'll break this all down for you. Maybe a little Phoenix Suns. I like what I've seen there as well. Live on SportsGrid.
'Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We're back to right here on SportsGrid. We have some undrafted free agents starting to get their two-way contracts. Coach, anything caught your eye quickly?
Yeah, Blake Hinton who's a shooter, going to the Lakers. Listen, simply put, Lakers need shooting. They got the best, the best pure, if not the best pure shooter in the draft from Dalton Connect. Blake Hinton, one of the sneaky good shooters. He just went there. Reese Beekman goes on a two-way contract to Golden State. Would that may mean that, as possible as a long-term backup point guard solution? So you're starting to see guys start to kind of trickle in, get moves and two-way deals. And sometimes, Kevin, it's kind of like the NFL free agency after the draft, right? Or the free agent draft, with guys on the draft.
Yeah.
Sometimes this is better because now these agents can kind of look at situations and send them to places where they think there's a better chance for them to play.
Again, I will make this point, and I'm not going to beat people over the head with it, but there's going to be a lot of fallout from people saying, oh, my God, I can't believe that Clutch forced everyone, blah, blah, blah. Justin Edwards signed a two-way deal with the Sixers as an undrafted free agent. I feel pretty confident that Justin Edwards was called by multiple teams within the last 13 or so picks of that draft and said, hey, are you interested in potentially joining us? Justin Edwards is a one-and-done McDonald's All-American. And I'll tell you this, Coach, I'm surprised Edwards wasn't drafted. Listen, very rarely, I would tell you, we leave, an NBA draft and I can point to a guy and say, wow, I can't believe he didn't come off of the board. Mm-hmm. Edwards is one of those guys. A one-and-done prospect at Kentucky. Now, I've always said bank on the guards more than anything because that's what Cal gets correct in terms of thinking where these guys can be as NBA players. Justin Edwards leaving Kentucky, though, he was not good. A massive underachiever, a big part of all the questions I have about what in the world Cal was doing. And Edwards could have made the same decision that we saw made by DJ Wagner, who joined Calipari at Arkansas there. Instead said, you know what? I'm going league. There were mocks earlier on in the process, and I'm not talking about the summer, October. I'm talking about May mock drafts that said Justin Edwards would be a first-round pick.
I started sliding.
Coach doesn't go undrafted.
No, and sometimes it happens. Guys, they don't have good enough tape, and they move on. And listen, Justin Edwards has a chance. He's definitely got skills that he could, go to somewhere like Philadelphia, who has really no roster at all, except for a couple of guys. Right. So he's going to have a chance. A couple other guys I thought were good deals that got done. P.J. Hall going to Denver. Now, the Champs reported that he did have significant second-round interest, but ended up going to Denver. So there's a situation where Denver didn't have a second-round pick. Hey, don't get drafted. We'll take you. And it makes sense. P.J. Hall, a skilled big man, good passer. I think that works. Keyshawn Johnson going to Miami. Everything Miami does, it turns to gold. I love it. And N'Faly Dante, I was talking to Kevin about this during the break. Folks, he is a little bit of a project. Did you see what he did to Ryan Kalkbrenner in the tournament? If they had any bench, Oregon would have beat Creighton in the tournament because that kid ran out of gas, and he was dominant. So he goes to a place like Houston with Ime Udoka, who is a defense-first coach. Then you look at the play of Şengün. They didn't go. I thought they were going to try and get Klingon. They didn't go get Klingon. So to me, Dante has a chance here that he could get himself a couple of minutes over there in Houston.
I want to see where Trey Alexander goes. I'm
a big fan of his as well.
I'm very interested to see where Trey Alexander goes. So we were talking about some round two things that were head-scratching, and I alluded to the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, I want to make this clear. I think Tyler Smith could have easily been a top 25 pick.
Yes.
Had Milwaukee drafted Tyler Smith at 23, I would not have crushed it. Now, at 23, I think they made arguably the worst pick in the first round by drafting A.J. Johnson who's playing in the Australia League. It was just an atrocious decision. What is very difficult to understand is Milwaukee taking a pair of teenagers who I think even the highest people on those two players would ask themselves, when could we think they contribute? And they would probably not tell you day one. I don't think they would tell you year one. I don't know if they would tell you year two. Milwaukee is title or bust with Giannis in the room. And, Coach, you've talked about it, but Giannis is not afraid to apply pressure to the organization. He's done it a few times. You could argue it's not worked out. But it doesn't mean he's going to stop doing it. And the fact that Milwaukee left with picks 23 and 33, a pair of guys that, again, would not project to be in the rotation, is surprising.
It's shocking because Doc Rivers went on record in saying, we got to get better players around the core of Dame and Giannis. So to me, you're right. You you would think that guys that are more ready, like, a Tyler Kolek would have made sense, right, going the next pick. A Juan Nunez, if you want to go somewhere international. Jalen Wells had been around for a while, played 3 years. Adam Bona, if you're going to think about talk about them possibly trading Bobby Portis and some assets or pieces to go try and get Andrew Wiggins. Adam Bona could have been stepped in and played himself in the post. Pal Larson is someone that could have made sense. Jamal Shedd, just guys that you know what you're going to get out of them, and you could step them in and give them a chance to play. I am really wondering what is going on in Milwaukee. And I'll be honest with you folks, I don't care what Giannis has signed. If this goes south this year, Giannis, to me, Kevin, I think he asks out because he's going to look around and say, well, Boston, not going anywhere, right? Indiana, they're young. Knicks, they're going to be around for a while. Yeah. Miami, they're always going to be around, right? Mm-hmm. Who's that next team in the East that takes a jump? Someone around here in the production is going to want me to say Washington Wizards. Not yet. But to me, you look at the situation, when does Giannis stop putting pressure and says, get me out of here?
I guess, maybe they think he will, and that's why they went with some projects. I said yesterday I thought Ryan Dunn would have made plenty of sense. And I think even in round 2, an A.J. Mitchell or hometown kid Tyler Kolek would make some sense as well. With that, we're live here on SportsGrid.
'Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Back to right here on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh, Coach James Young with you. 2024 NBA Draft Special, Day 2 coverage, Round 2. The draft as a whole has come to a close. Here we get the opportunity to take a look at some of the stuff that fell out today. And at the top of the hour here, we will really package up the 2 days, our favorite picks, our least favorite picks, Rookie of the Year odds, and an offseason outlook. So, Coach, tell me, is there anything else from round 2 that we have not been able to get to just yet that you want to make mention of?
Yeah, I think, I'm going to keep going back to the Knicks here because they kept punting, and he loaded up on his second round. And the kid, Ariel Huck-Porty, the kid they got out of Germany, kind of the way you look at him, at about 6'11", he seems to be a really rugged rebounder, which that's going to be Tibbs' thing because they like the rebound, and he can protect the rim, and the way he could play, drop coverage. So if you think about it, rebounder, rim protector, drop coverage. If you watch the Knicks, that's how they use Hartenstein. They use him in that same way. Mitchell Robinson, Kevin, was more of a switch because at one point Mitchell Robinson used to block more threes than any big in the NBA because he would switch out, he would block shots, he was so long. Mm-hmm. Hartenstein was a little bit more of a drop coverage guy, really good rebounder, and a sneaky good rim protector. We obviously saw that big block he had on Tyrese Maxey, and I think that was game number 2 of the Eastern Conference quarterfinals. So, to me, that's another guy where if they're saying, all right, well, we don't believe in Jericho Sims, here's a chance of a guy right here that we can take a chance on. So that I found to be interesting, a good value, I think, for the Knicks to get at the end of round 2.
I want to mention quickly Oso Ighodaro. I think it continues. We mentioned how the Bucks disagreed with our smart money team needs. I think Phoenix liked what we were suggesting there, getting arguably the best perimeter defender in the class in Ryan Dunn, and then getting a versatile big like Ighodaro.
They could play right away, 15, 20 minutes.
Day one, the athleticism, some real ability to pass the ball as well. I think there's going to be a lot of excitement around the addition of Ighodaro for that basketball team. But I do have to bring this back to Bronny and what the Lakers did at 55. And I don't think it really should be lost on us that what has happened today is a maybe one and only time ever in league history thing. What had to happen in order to make this possible? I mean, LeBron had to play until he was 40, right? LeBron and is not only going to play until he's 40, I mean, he's going to potentially play until he's like 43. Still one of the 10 best players in the world. The longevity of it all, and the fact that his son was good enough to be considered for the draft, I know. Some hear me say that. They moan, they groan. He was on teams' radars. Before the medical incident that happened the past summer, this was a kid who was being predicted as a lottery pick. Not by, Johnny-come-latelys. By the most respected draft analysts in the world, thought that he could be a potential lottery pick. And for the Los Angeles Lakers, I'm not an idiot. I know people. When I say I'm the most unbiased man in the history of sports media, I'm being dead serious. I mean, I'm the Lakers taking a swing on Bronny was a great decision before you even consider it guaranteed LeBron would be back. But I am aware the reason the Lakers didn't have any debate in the room of, hey, do you guys want Bronny, McCullough? Because it means LeBron's coming back. This decision to me, JY, was made far more with LeBron in mind than J.J. Redick. I think there's definitely LeBron, J.J. Redick stuff as well. And I also don't think that's a problem. LeBron making decisions for this organization is how they ended up with LeBron and with Anthony Davis. It's actually a step in the right direction.
I was just thinking about this as you were talking about, LeBron should have went back, or Bronny should have went back. Here's the thing. If Bronny goes back and plays well, which he's going to play better this year than last year, I don't think the Lakers and Rich Paul can control the narrative of telling him not to take Bronny. So, in all honesty, this is the best thing for Bronny and for the Lakers, because if he went to Duquesne and dropped 20 points a game and goes into the first round, they can't pull this with Clutch Sports. So it actually worked out better for him this way, how it went down.
In terms of getting LeBron and Bronny in L.A., I don't think you can argue it at all. We take a step back. What happened yesterday? Who got it right? Who got it wrong? A few teams, I'll tell you that. Back with you here on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back with you right here. We're live on SportsGrid talking about the 2024 NBA Draft. And we're going to take a look at round one. But I want to zone in on a specific player who is Zach Edey. Mm-hmm. And I think Zach Edey is probably the most difficult player to rank on a big board in a very long time. Because he's 7'4", 300 pounds, was a back-to-back National Player of the Year. The credentials are not something that we've seen JY in a long time. Now, this was 1981. He would have gone inside the top 3. But it's 2024. And it's a league that had a moment where they were shifting out bigs, but it's also a league that's had some dominant stretch of big men. The last 6 MVPs have been won by Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm not comparing Zach Edey to those guys. I'm just saying having a big man is important, and it's why Memphis was enamored with Donovan Clingan. Well, they ultimately clearly wanted a 7-foot-plus game changer, and they feel as if they found it in Zach Edey. And I think for me, I was really going to make a determination on how I felt about his pro outlook based on the landing spot. What do you think about Zach Edey's landing spot in Memphis?
Love it. And it's funny, folks. I had an incredibly tough time evaluating where to put Zach Edey on my draft board. I'll be very honest with you. Kevin and I had a lot of really good conversations last weekend. And honestly, folks, in the last 24 to 48 hours before the draft, Zach Edey went from 25th to 19th on my board. He went from the 6th big to the 3rd big because I started looking at it and saying, you can't escape the fact that he's 7'4". Folks, he got the you-know-what kicked out of him in college. That's not, Kevin, that's not going to happen in the NBA, right? Then I started thinking about, well, he moves laterally a lot better than I thought, right? And I've talked about it. Jonas Valanciunas can play drop coverage. Ivanka Zubac, who I don't think could shine Zach Edey's shoes, is a double-double machine. So now I'm sitting there saying to myself, man, if he goes to the right spot, it makes sense. And to me, I kept looking at Portland because I didn't think Donovan Clingan was going to drop to Portland. But when he did, and Memphis took him, I said, oh my God, think about this. When Memphis was at their best in the last 3 years, their starting center was Steven Adams. Dunk spot. About 7 foot. Rugged. Interior. Had no post game whatsoever. And then they just went and got a bigger, better version of Steven Adams, which now allows Jaren Jackson Jr. to do what he does best, which is be a weak side rebounder, weak side shot blocker, and someone that it doesn't matter what happens, he ain't getting you double-doubles because he don't want that smoke. But that's okay because the biggest guy in the draft, he wants that smoke. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Zach Edey should be one of the 3 or 4 favorites for Rookie of the Year. If he is anything more than 10-1, run to the window. I'm telling you right now, I'm closing my eyes. 20 minutes a game, Zach Edey, 22 minutes. 15 points or 14 points, 8.5 rebounds a night. Lock it in right now. That's the floor. If he gets surrounded by Desmond Bain, who could shoot the ball, as I drop stuff, and I lost my mic, so as he could shoot the ball, right? And you have John Moran, who could drive the ball and get you dunk spots. Zach Edey is a perfect fit for that team in Memphis.
So you mentioned the Zach Edey Rookie of the Year price, and it opened at 20-1 yesterday. And small, I immediately placed the bet. One of 2 guys I placed the bet on. That number is down to 10-1. Many people made the same decision to click on Zach Edey. Because as I said, it was going to be an evaluation of where did Zach Edey land. If he ended up a Chicago Bull, I probably don't place the bet. If he ends up a Detroit Piston, I'm not sure I place the bet. But in Memphis, who is a basketball team that if they are fully healthy will be deep into postseason contention, who is, I think, going to strongly consider starting Zach Edey,
they will.
You have an opportunity now to get statistics out of Zach Edey that others in this class will struggle to match while playing a level of winning basketball that others in this class might struggle to match. But again, the 20-1 is gone, and it's down to 10-1. The thing for Zach Edey that made me buy in the most, you look back at his run in this past tournament, 30-15 were the averages. I'll mention this one more time. A complete disgrace. He didn't win Most Outstanding Player, and if you still disagree, you couldn't be more wrong. But for me, it's the 30-15 isn't it's not the thing that jumps off the page the most. It's not every single game being a 20-point double-double at a minimum. It's these 4 numbers that closed out the tournament. 38, 39, 40, 39. Minutes played. Boban Marjanovic would be the comparison for Zach Edey because Boban's 7'4", and I don't think that's a lazy comparison. Boban is topped out at about 10 minutes a game. You take a look at the Boban box scores from overseas. It was, again, top end around 27. When that was the case, though, he was averaging about 17 and 11. If Zach Edey plays 24 minutes a game, which is reasonable for a starter and possibly reasonable due to what he had to handle while at Purdue, he has an opportunity to be just super efficient in those minutes and really make a push for Rookie of the Year. I am not telling you that means he's the best player in this class. I don't think he's the best player in this class. And I don't think this is a draft where whomever wins Rookie of the Year will go, oh, how'd that guy not go first overall? That's not this type of class. But I think it's what opens the door for someone like Zach Edey. I'm not sure, though, if I'm Atlanta, I wouldn't have preferred Zach Edey to Ricochet. We're going to get into a number of things with what happened yesterday, but one of the disagreements between you and I is the evaluation of Ricochet. For me, not a top 10 player in this class. If he would have gone top 10, that'd have been fine. But like 10, 8, maybe 7th, I think Atlanta at first overall ultimately took a swing that I don't expect to connect.
It's going to be interesting because listen, there are guys. There's very few ready-made guys that are young in this draft. Mm-hmm. They all need some kind of work. Now, Ricochet to me is someone that I believe in his upside. I believe in his catch-and-shoot ability. He's long and he's lanky. Now, he's got to put on weight and he's got to finish at the rim because it's far more aggressive in the NBA. I'm willing to take my chance on him. I do think his rookie year will not be as good as Sarr's because I think Sarr is going to play a ton of minutes and he's got to be the rim protection presence that obviously, that Washington needs, especially after they got rid of Daniel Gafford. But at the end of the day, Kevin, right now, the guy I think is going to have the best career, Steph Castle. I am so high on this guy with the Spurs. I think he's going to be a big time player.
We're going to talk a little bit more about Castle, some of the favorite picks that we saw come off of the board yesterday in the NBA draft. It's Kevin Walsh and Coach James Young with you here on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Back to right here on SportsGrid. I'm Kevin Walsh with you, Coach James Young, the 2024 NBA Draft Special, and want to discuss what were some of our favorite picks yesterday. Coach mentioned Stephon Castle. I think, at this point, everyone probably knows that I'm on high on Reed Shepherd. But I also think that I was going to be impressed by whoever drafted Reed and Steph Castle. But perhaps some guys landed in some spots where you go, oh, my goodness, this is incredible. Maybe you leave higher on the player because of a landing spot. So, Coach, maybe we just step back and go outside of that top 10. What was one of the favorite things that you saw yesterday?
Dalton Connect. Dalton Connect, Dalton Connect, Dalton Connect, Dalton Connect, Dalton Connect. Simply put, when you look at this team in the Lakers, it's important for people to understand the way that LeBron James plays. He is best when he has the ability to drive the ball and punch the gap and bully ball, but have people that could space the floor. Look at his time in Miami with having guys like a Ray Allen, like a Shane Battier who could shoot the ball, a Mike Miller, right? He needs guys, Kevin Love when he was in Cleveland, he needs guys that can catch and shoot at a high enough clip that they can make them, but you got to respect them, which gives LeBron a little bit more of a driving lane. Dalton Connect fits the Lakers better than, I would almost say better than almost any pick in the draft. Because here's why, too. You're getting a guy that's mature. You're getting a guy that you're going to plug and play. You're getting a guy that because of Rick Barnes, you damn well know he's going to play some defense. You got a guy that's cerebral and is smart and can figure the game out and figure it out on the fly. It's someone that LeBron ain't going to have to worry about. He's going to know his role from day one. I'm stunned. He was number 7 on my big board that he fell to all the way down that he did. I'm even more stunned that Philadelphia passed him. I feel terribly for Orlando that they had the next pick, and that was the guy they should have took it if he would have went down to 18. Dalton Connect, to me, for where he went and what he's going to give his team, best value to me on the board that took place in the first round.
So I think sometimes when you leave a draft, right, you'll hear a GM or a coach like, oh, we had this guy top 5 on our board. It's like, you're the guy that went 22, top 5 on your board. Mm-hmm. If the Lakers were given the 5th pick, I very much so believe they would have drafted Dalton Connect. So to be able to sit at 17, I'm sure there were probably moments where they were like, do we trade up? Do we trade up? I'm sure they were making phone calls, Coach, because it is the perfect player for this team to draft. I think it is on the board. Dalton Connect starts for the Lakers. Now, a lot of other things are going to have to play out. The only 2 guys I can promise you start for the Lakers are Anthony Davis and LeBron James. One of the things that will determine whether or not there's a slot for Dalton to start, Coach, is if AD gets his wish or not of having another big man in the starting lineup. We know he wants a 5 next to him. I don't know if it's Brook Lopez on the free agent market. Jonas Valanciunas' name has been tossed around. I know Nikola Vucevic could potentially be had in a trade. Is that something that would be intriguing to the Lakers? But I fully expect Dalton Connect in this team's rotation. So, again, and I'll kind of, when we bring up some guys here that we're high on, I'll mention the Rookie of the Year market then. Dalton Connect at 10-1, that is a little bit of a dropper, 12-1 at some other spots there. This is not something I think you need to play in June. But if you notice that Dalton Connect is in the top 7 of that Laker rotation, I think it is something that is on the board. But another spot where a guy's landing spot, for me, kind of answered all the questions, it's Khalil Ware.
Yeah.
I laughed last night when it happened. It is one of those things. Khalil Ware, in kind of my evaluation, one thing that stood out to me, Coach, is even the highest people on Ware felt obligated to mention the motor concerns, the work ethic concerns. So when you're taking a high upside swing, right, and some things are going to have to ultimately land for a player, and you tell me, well, don't bank on work ethic, I don't love that. That's not the best way to sell me on a talent. Well, he went to Miami, which means he busted his butt in that workout, and Miami will iron out any of those potential concerns on work ethic. So now all of a sudden, a 7-foot floor spacing, rim protecting big man gets paired with Bam Adebayo. You couldn't get a better fit. I mean, think Kristaps Porzingis. Think about how incredible of a player that would be to pair in Miami. And I'm not telling you he's going to beat Kristaps. Again, you always got to be careful with your player comps, but I just think this was a perfect landing spot for Khalil Ware. And if Miami does their thing, they got to steal at 15.
Very simply put, just let him come into practice first day and be messing around. They'll bring OG Udonis Haslem out for a 48th year and just have him come beat him up. It's kind of like when you go into college and you're big and you're the undersized, like, hot shot freshman, and there's a senior that's been there for a while, and he's like, welcome to the big league, son. And if Khalil Ware is willing to listen, you're saying Porzingis, I'll give you Miles Turner. Similar, right? Similar. If he can stretch the floor out with the shot, elite rim protection, I think Miles Turner is a better rebounder than Porzingis, even though neither one of them go to the boards enough, for my opinion. That makes sense. But Larson makes sense. And honestly, I think Keyshawn Johnson just went to the Heat in a two-way. Everything they do, it makes sense. They get experienced guys. And it seems this is a younger guy. I think it pans out.
I think there's a lot more for us to get onto here with these draft prospects, and that's what we'll do after a quick break on.
'em.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We are back with you here on SportsGrid's 2024 NBA Draft Special, talking about some of our favorite picks and fits that we saw from round number one. You mentioned Dalton Connect. I mentioned Khalil Ware. Again, Reed Shepard and Stephon Castle were my two favorite players in this class. I know they were both top five guys for you. We got into Zach Edey. Anyone else that we saw in round number one you want to talk about in a positive light?
Nikola Topic.
Okay.
I watched film on this guy. I was so enamored with his game, and I really felt like if he did not have the ACL injury, I would have taken him even over Steph Castle as the first point guard to be taken. I would have took him at 4. I really like his game, and I think when you look at it, it was funny because it kind of like, if you watch our draft coverage last night, you saw it kind of stumbled into this in regards to we're talking about Oklahoma City needing a secondary ball handler, and they got, I know that Castle projects, but I think the best pure point guard in the draft, natural point guard, is Toppage. And I think what you're going to see is, as he gets his knee healthy, and now you can allow SGA to play off ball and not have to worry about like bringing the ball up the floor and initiating the offense. I think Toppage is going to be an absolute home run. I think of like a Ricky Rubio with a better jump shot. Now I know that's not going to be like, oh my God, coach. Oh, if Ricky Rubio had a jump shot, he would have been a phenomenal NBA player. Phenomenal. People just sat off him. He couldn't shoot. So if Toppage can show that he can shoot the ball a little bit as a jump shooter, I think that was a really great pick. And Sam Presti is just another one of those guys, K-Dub, that he gets the draft right.
Yeah, I think the landing spot for Topic worked out really, really well because it's a team in Oklahoma City that can give him any necessary time to recover from that ACL injury. I don't think he's a real Rookie of the Year contender because I don't think the reps will be there. I don't think he has any potential to crack their starting lineup. I mentioned the Zach Edey bet. The other bet's on Isaiah Collier at 75-1. As I said, I think that this is going to be a very fun Rookie of the Year market to track coming off of the Wemby race, which was Wemby or Chet. Ooh, look at Chet. And then Wemby just completely ran away with the whole thing. So much of this draft is going to come down to reps. JY, at this moment, how many guys that were selected, because realistically it's only going to be round 1, do we think are going to be day 1 starters? Sarr, probably Risha Shea, but I can't guarantee it. They have more trades to make, right? Klingon? I don't think so. We said Zach Edey.
I said Castle.
Okay, probably, but like, what if they trade for Garland? Probably Castle, okay, right? Ryan Dunn?
See, here, and then this is where it's interesting. You got to find a guy, and I think the Rookie year is going to come from someone that honestly may come off the bench. Like a guy that's going to be asked to come off the bench and score. And honestly, Kevin, you wish he stayed in San Antonio.
I know.
I think it could be Rob. I think it could be Rob. Now, it depends on how much shots Shannon Jr. takes from him, but I could see Rob at times being on the court with Ann Edwards.
So I don't think you're wrong. What you just said is why I explained to people I was willing to bet. I'm not going to touch the market again for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah Collier. Rob Dillingham is 20-1. Isaiah Collier is 75-1. Collier needs guys to leave Utah to open up a bigger workload for him. But there are rumors around Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton potentially being out the door. And if Collier starts for Utah, well, then this is a slam dunk, right? His number would be significantly shorter than that. And I'm willing to bank on a player that I think is one of the 10 best kids in this draft class. And I think his fall, again, let's just remove Bronny. It speaks to how disastrous everything was at USC last year. This is someone who led EYBL all in all in assists per game. This is someone who had while he was with USC, they had a winning record. They were 1-5 when he wasn't around. And I think is such a hard worker. I think Utah got the biggest steal in this draft, and I did place that wager at 75-1. Whenever somebody swings, it could hit or miss. Who missed yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that here. It's Coach James Young. It's Kevin Walsh with you live on SportsGrid's 2024 NBA Draft.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Back right here on SportsGrid. As I said, some teams are always going to get it wrong. And if you kind of tier the draft out, right? Top 5, top 10, lottery, top 20, and then first rounder, right? They kind of 5 tiers, and you go, all right, who didn't belong in what slot, right? Where I don't think Ricochet is a top 5 pick. I am not necessarily sold on someone like Terrence Shannon Jr. as a first-round pick, on Jalen Tyson as a top 20 pick. TJ Salon is someone who I think is an exciting prospect. But at 6 overall, a top 10 pick, closer to top 5, I'm not sure I love. In fact, I am sure I don't love that. Let me to clean that up a bit. Charlotte, we know at minimum received phone calls at 6, but they were probably nervous that Salon wouldn't be available if they moved down to 9 because the Spurs were heavily linked to him and they were projected at the time to draft 8. How do you feel about that decision Charlotte made, ultimately staying at 6 and taking Salon?
I listen. I was on T-John Salam for a couple of weeks for him to go in the top 10. Mm-hmm. I agree with Kevin. I just don't like where he landed at the pick number. To me, you could have moved down, obtained draft capital, and then gone from there. Simply put, if you move down to 9, and let's say Salon goes 8, go draft Tyler Cole, or not Cole, draft Dalton Connect and put him next to LaMelo and give him another shooter. Mm-hmm. Simply put, go get Rob Dillingham and play, you can move LaMelo off the ball because LaMelo's at 6'6", and you could play Rob next to LaMelo. Charlotte continues to make, not including Brandon Miller, seems like they may have gotten that one right so far, they continue to make boneheaded decisions. I like the player. I don't even mind that he went to Charlotte. But when you had teams fighting in that for Clingan Edie, right? Because after Kling and Edey, there was such a huge drop-off. Even Missy was the next one. There's such a huge drop-off in regards to the next big, right? The fourth center on the draft board, that no one was going to go get someone in the top 10, 11. I think you move down, and a team that needs, besides LaMelo, and Brandon Miller needs everything. I know there's rumors that maybe Miles Bridges may come back. Let's see if that happens. They need everything, that team.
Right.
Get more draft capital rather than take them at 6.
I think, to me, so we can critique them not trading down, right? Because we know that there were teams that made that phone call. But even if you said, hey, listen, we're not getting good value, we have to sit here and pick. The idea on Salon is we're taking a swing, right? I'd rather take that swing on Klingon. I'd rather take the swing on Rob. So that is because it's easy to say, hey, man, what about Dalton Connect? But Connect and Salon aren't necessarily great comps because they're 4 years apart. So I'm okay if you say, I want to take a high upside swing. I think you've got to take it down on the 7'2" efficiency metric breaking Donovan Klingon then, all in all, if you're Charlotte. Another pick that I can't wrap my head around, and I want to separate something quickly. I am not in on the prospect that is Jared McCann. Others are. You're much higher on McCann than I am, right? There are some who think that Jared McCann is a lottery pick. There were plenty of people yesterday praising the Jared McCann pick, which is a bit mind-boggling to me. Because I don't know, I wouldn't have liked McCann had he gone to Miami, right? Or the Lakers. But him going to Philly is specifically confusing because I don't view McCann as having any chance to start for this basketball team with Tyrese Maxey already there. You're not starting 6'2" and 6'3" when neither guy is a defense-first type of player. He's a great shooter. I'm not telling you he's not. But the 3 picks that followed were Dalton Connect, Tristan Da Silva, and Jacoby Walter. All 3, I think, JY, would have made significantly more sense for the Philadelphia roster, which is why I leave 10 times more confused at the decision the Sixers made with drafting Jared McCann.
It made no sense. It made no sense, Kevin. It was the one more than anything. I was just like, wait, what? Like, no. Even T.J. Salam, I was like, okay, I don't like where he went, but they lost P.J. Washington. They need a 3-and-D guy. They want to take a swing. I get it. Jared McCain is an exceptional shooter, but he's not a great ball handler. He's not a great defender. He doesn't have elite athleticism. He can't create his own shot. He just shoot the ball. And you've heard me on this network go time and time again that a 2 small guard system doesn't work in this league. I've talked to you about Garland and Mitchell. I've been talking about Garland and Mitchell since the day they got together that I thought it wasn't going to work. Because 2 small guards aren't going to work in the NBA. Especially defending, if not one of them is an elite defender.
Right.
And now here we are. A Philadelphia team that needed either a stretch 4 or a 3-and-D or a spot-up knockdown shooter, and the 3 guys that went after them checked all the boxes that Philadelphia needed. And then they went with Jared McCain. If Connect was gone, if Da Silva was gone, if Jacoby Walter was gone, and they took McCain, I would have been like, I still wouldn't have liked it, but I'd be like, okay. Like, a lot of the other guys that fit what Philadelphia needs were gone. Maybe they should have traded back. But to me, even though McCain was my 14th best available player on my big board, that doesn't mean you have to take him because he's sliding a tiny bit. No. You get the guy that fits you. This is the draft. You get the guys that fit your need,
Well, your
not
seventh best player was available anyway.
Right,
So
right,
if they were
right,
drafting
right,
off your big
right,
board, I mean,
right.
you know what I mean? I was talking with our guy Donnie Rightside today, though, and look, if anything, he's at minimum plugged into the Philadelphia portion of it all. He's like, well, Daryl Morey's just saying, well, we've got all the wings coming. The Sixers, there was one of the more bizarre reports that we did see come out, JY, within the last week or so, was a Shams report that the Sixers were moving off of the Paul George hunt, which felt like you had to either decipher it as the Sixers found something better or Paul George told the Sixers, I'm good. Both could be true, but let's use the first one, which is the Sixers found something better. What did the Sixers find? Now, again, truly, I don't care what they found. You can always use 3-and-D wings. I think you take Jacoby Walter 100 times out of 100, if not Dalton Connect, ready-made plug-and-play guy. But what do the Sixers have? They say they're out on PG. Every indication, Jimmy's going back to Miami. Donovan's not leaving Cleveland. Contavious Caldwell-Pope? Is that what stopped you from drafting a 3-and-D? We're going to find out. We're going to find out. Philly's trying to cook. We'll see if we should let him.
Cooking bad.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, back to right here on SportsGrid. It's kind of funny. We had some uncertainty heading into today because we didn't know how long the second round would take. We knew we would talk draft. I'm like, all right, we're going to get into a lot of off-season stuff. We only have 15 minutes left here tonight, and I feel there's still a lot we haven't unpacked. I want to go to two specific guys. I'm going to start with the fifth pick in Ron Holland, which is such a fascinating thing for me. Ron Holland, top 5, is an absolute yes out of me. I think he is around one of the 5 best players in this class, right? I think that is a really nice pick. I prefer him to Matas Buzelis, who many thought would go there. There are some in Detroit, though, who are losing their mind because this is a roster full of guys where shooting is a weakness, right? Ivy, Asor, I mean, even Cade necessarily hasn't, perfected the jump shot yet. I really like Ron Holland, and I don't think Detroit can draft for fit. But I'm not sure they can keep all the pieces that are in the room now unless guys really start to figure out the shooting ability.
No, they can't shoot it worth a lick. Rough. But to me, when you look at Detroit, they're so intriguing because they really have, as much as any roster, completely like untapped potential. Like if they all get it right,
you like team, a lot of their guys.
I love Cade.
Mm-hmm.
I still love Ivy. I am a huge Thompson guy. I think we should slide him over to the power forward and let him be a point forward and let him cook.
Mm-hmm.
I love Jalen Duren. I think Isaac Stewart is got to get traded. Killian Hayes, see you later. But like, who is the guy? You remember like back in the day when we used to play basketball as a kid, and you would tell the kids like 1 foot in the lane defense, like you play a 2-3 zone, you don't step that foot outside the paint. That's how you defend Detroit this year. Don't step your foot outside the paint. Asor and Ron Holland, like, what is the big difference between the two of them?
Well, I think Ron Holland has more scoring ability. I think Asor is the better defender.
But to play them together as a 3-4?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? I wanted to pull this up. I think it's kind of our smart money team needs. The first thing is shooting.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is star forward. If you had to rank the importance, Coach, getting a star is more important than getting a guy who can knock down some threes. I would argue I'd draft Ron Holland before Dalton Connect. I don't know if you're big board situationally. I don't know where you land on that, but I am picking, and I like Connect a lot. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
I think this team has to move one of Ivy or Cade. I think it depends on the return. I also, like you, really, really, really like Cade Cunningham. It's just, if I get back a monster haul, I'm going to consider it. And I think you start, let's say it's Ivy, that's more realistic. Cade, Holland, Asor. The thing is, I need shooting bigs. Can I get shooting bigs on the court? Because, JY, because Ron can defend,
mm-hmm.
and Asor can defend as well. And I'm not worried about, because you know what? Like Brook Lopez, I can live with. You know why? Because Asor Thompson can average a double-double himself. They're all 6'6". I'm not starting anyone short. I just need to add shooting. Because Cade, the hope is he'll be able to shoot it well enough. So I think that's fascinating. Here's the other one I want to ask you about. Klingon. We haven't gotten into Klingon yet. At 7, I love the pick for Portland because Portland should not make any decision based on the fact that Ayton is on that roster. And they've already said that Rob Williams could potentially be moved, and Ayton as well. The thing for Klingon, right, like say we're talking Rookie of the Year odds, I don't think they start him. So I think that like, how do you feel about Klingon landing in Portland? It's something we talked about a lot, but now that it's happened, how do you feel about it?
Well, first things first, to answer your question about Connect versus Holland,
okay,
7-8 on my big board. So they're splitting hairs. So to me, the reason why I liked Donovan Klingon to go in this spot, simply put, and he was number 4 overall on my big board, his elite ability to protect the basket. When you have young guys, right, and you have guys like Shaedon Sharp, Anthony Simons, Scoot Henderson, you got to play them, Kev. Where do they struggle? On the defensive end.
Yeah.
So you need someone that can clean up the mess, but a good enough rebounder to start the break. And I think Klingon fits that. Folks, you already know. JY, biggest fan of the DeAndre Ayton fan club. I left the club 3 months ago. I'm denominating, then I'm leaving. I left. I'm done with DeAndre Ayton. I can't do it anymore. Rob Williams, I've been a fan of yours too. You play as many games as Mitchell Robinson. How you doing? So to me, yeah, he probably doesn't start. But if I'm Chauncey, I'm getting both of them out of there, Rob and Ayton. I'm getting Grant out of there. Well, that's another dynamite contract they got lined up. That would be a sneaky good place for Philadelphia to look, honestly, Jeremy Grant. But to me, I'm starting Klingon. I got these 3 young pups, and I'm going to win. I'm going to war with them. I'm going to lose a lot, but hopefully they all take the next step together.
They would lose a lot.
Yeah.
They would lose a lot. I think the Ayton stuff is particularly difficult because he did not put up big numbers last year in Portland.
Terrible numbers.
So now you can't. What are you selling, right? It's bad contract. It's bad production. It's maybe bad attitude.
Ayton to the Lakers.
Why?
Well, they give up a lot for him.
But
There's your center with AD.
But he's paid a lot.
Yeah.
Put him on the Knicks. Replace Hardenstein.
No.
You'll be so back.
Hey, Rui
You'll be
Hachimura
so
and D'Lo for the DeAndre Ayton. How you doing?
Decline. We'll be right back and close it out here on Sports.
'em. Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, closing it out, final segment of the night here for us on the SportsGrid 2024 NBA Draft Special. Kevin Walsh, Coach James Young. JY, we button it up with one new market. Well, actually, a few new markets around the rookie class. Oh, the Bronny James tab is back.
Oh, I saw that.
Bronny James. Now, a lot of these are really silly, kind of the what will be the first method of basket. Made me bet it. I'd bet 3-point shot.
Oh, I didn't see all these. Go ahead.
Hold on. I'd bet 3-point shot, but there are odds. Layup, dunk, 3-point, other free throw. There's also a market. Bronny's first field goal would be assisted by LeBron, and then Bronny's first assist would be scored by LeBron. You could bet those if you'd like.
150 to 1.
Then there are some other wilder wagers. On the short end, Bronny 4+ threes in any game, plus 350. 9-1 for him to make 5+ threes or score 20 in a game. You can get 200. You can get 20-1 for double-digit assists in a game. 30-1 for 25 points. 50-1 for 30+ points. And then 150-1, JY, for a triple-double in any game this year. Anything possibly worth betting for you?
4+ made threes. You just get hot one game. Or he gets, like, it's late in the year, and he gets a ton of time for some bad team. I wish it was 15. Bronny scored 20 a game at 9-1. I can see one game he just goes off. Plays a lot of minutes. They're playing Portland. They're up by 40 in like the third quarter. Yo, young buck, go cook. Who's stopping you on that team? Anthony Simons? Nope. Shane Sharp? Nope.
Right.
Scoot? He may be on the bench by then.
Okay.
You know? Bronny, 20+, 9-1. I like it. I also think his first method of bet is going to be, I think it's going to be, honestly, a dunk. It's going to be, because if you think about it, what is he? It's steal. It's transition.
Wow.
Steal, dunk.
I would, if you made me place one of these, I think the method here is more, you know, the game 82 nonsense, where, like, you get, I think, like, Delano Blanton had a triple-double to close out the year. Peyton Pritchard. If you look at what Peyton Pritchard averages as a starter, like, he's the best player in the NBA. He plays in those game 82s and goes like 30, 12, and 10. Bronny for 10 assists is 26-1. I'm talking about he just gets to play 35 minutes in a game. He is more of a passer than a scorer. So none of these are, I don't even, see, like, what would be more interesting is this over-under games played for Bronny in the NBA.
Yeah, but I don't think they'll put that market out there until there's a better indication of what the Lakers roster is. Like, if D'Lo and some of these guys are moved and there's more of a pathway for him to play.
Do you think he'll be on the roster?
D'Lo?
No, Bronny.
Yeah. You think you're going to send that guy where, to Santa Cruz? I ain't not doing that to Bronny.
It's going to sound silly. I am not positive that he doesn't end up playing some G League for the Lakers.
A couple.
But because here's the thing. This is what's very, very clear. I think now that all the dust is settled, the plan was Bronny to the Lakers, right? LeBron wanted it. Rich Paul executed it. I believe Bronny was good with it. Again, it would be very unfortunate to find out that Bronny wasn't. So all the I refuse to play G League stuff might be different now that he's on the Lakers.
Hey,
because the main part of it, JY, has been finished out.
One of my favorite songs from A Tribe Called Quest, I left my wallet in El Segundo. They play in El Segundo, California. I don't even know where El Segundo is. I may take a trip. At the end of the day, folks, Bronny's on the Lakers. You don't like it? I don't care. Neither does K-Dub. You think it's nepotism? Guess what? We don't care.
Right.
He's on the Lakers. People are going to get mad at us, maybe on his network because we talk too much. Guess what? We don't care. He's on the Lakers. Bronny James on the Lakers. And they get Dalton Connect. But still, at the end of the day, orange and blue skies.
All right. Yeah.
All the Knicks.
Look, we are going to put this up here.
Oh.
And I just want to quickly thank everybody who's been a part of our two-day coverage to help us get all of this done. I want to thank all of you who have tuned in with us here on SportsGrid as we covered the 2024 NBA Draft. For Coach James Young, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you next time for 2025 NBA Draft.